So, Fast and Furious, the first one. Oh, wow. I literally just finished watching this movie again for the first time in about 10 years. I mean, I've never been a massive fan of Fast and Furious. I'll just say that right now. I don't mind the movies, just the big offender is number two. Number two was just terrible, terrible movie, and I will not go back to it ever. I mean, it's just, ugh, it's offensive and stupid, and I'm not gonna go into it. But I will say this: this is hands down the best Fast and Furious film ever, and I did enjoy number seven, and I thought it was fun and entertaining. But I think this is the best one, and I'll tell you why it's the best one. It has a real great style about it, and I just put a fantastic soundtrack, and there are moments in it that I couldn't believe I was watching a movie that it just come out in the year 2001. I mean, it feels like a 90s movie at heart, and that's what I love coming off the screen. I mean, there's just a rawness to it, and it comes through, and it's so true. There's so many great 90s movies I've enjoyed, and they all have that look to them. They don't need that Blu-ray quality. They just need to look decent and entertaining and take you on a ride and you enjoy it. And that's exactly what this movie did. I mean, it's a simple story and everything, but we all know Fast and Furious that we're not going to have these really complicated storylines. But I don't think that damages it or anything. And I think if you look at it for purely the whole experience and what it gives, I think it is it is the best one because it takes everything that the other ones did, but I think did it better, and I think that Vin Diesel, I just it's so weird going back to where it all started because Vin Diesel actually gives a really good performance, and I'm really surprised to say that because I'm not a massive fan of Vin Diesel. I know he's not Steven Seagal. We've discussed that before now, but in this movie, he doesn't have that sort of deep tone voice, which I think sort of let down his performance a bit. You know, when it got onto the later ones and all that, and it was kind of hard to display emotion and stuff and give great acting ability. But in this movie, he's really good. He doesn't have that deep voice. He just has a normal sort of voice, and he projects all this emotion, and I think it really works. And I think Paul Walker's really good in his part that he does, and I think the first time seeing him play this character, it's really different because he's not the same guy he was in the later movies. He's something completely different, and he still played the part very well in the other ones. But what I mean is that it's a different time in part of the series because obviously I won't go into spoilers, but you obviously know it all changes. And Michelle Rodriguez, I think she's great in the movie. I think she's sort of a character they will obviously building up to have in the series more, obviously. But obviously, I think she has the least amount of screen time. She still gets good moments in there, and it's still works well. It's just out of all of them, I think she has the least amount of screen time. But she's still great. I think she is fantastic, really fantastic in number seven, and I think she's consistently really good in the other ones she's been in. And I actually would say she's probably my favorite character of the entire series. And I do really like Michelle Rodriguez, so that's probably got something to do with it as well. But the action scenes are always great, and I always love watching those action sequences. I mean, if you just made a whole thing of all the action sequences, I mean, that would be a great movie on its own. Despite everything else that's going on with the other movies, but it takes everything that I think was kind of all right about the other movies, and they're still fun, but not great. And it capitalizes on making a really good movie. Also, what's different about this one is that it's not like the other ones. It's kind of straightforward and style and the soundtrack, and it's all fresh and new. And I think that's what makes it the most entertaining one for me. And I did enjoy the other ones, but I think they're kind of a little bit inferior compared to this one. And as much as I did enjoy number seven, and I enjoyed number six, and I enjoyed number five, and I did enjoy number four, which I saw as well today for the first time. I just think it does kind of get to a point where they do feel a little bit repetitive, even though they're still entertaining. And there are fantastic performances from like The Rock and Michelle Rodriguez is just great, and Vin Diesel seems to be getting better in number seven and number six. When obviously he went from, because I think his best performance is in here, but what I mean is when he went into the later movies, then I think his performance kind of dropped a little bit, and he had that deep voice. But in number six, number seven, it seemed like he was going back to what made him, well, looks like made him really, really good to begin with. Um, but obviously, by the time you get to the later movies, there's more stuff going on, and there are even longer movies. But I don't think that ruins it or anything. It's just I like the way that this one's compact and it's tight and it's only an hour and 42 minutes, and then compared to number seven, it's 2 hours 20 minutes. I didn't get bored or any point in number seven. It's just I think this one's a better movie, and I think it packs everything into it that it just works so well. And I think even the way it establishes the characters is really strong. I mean, like Toretto and Michelle Rodriguez character, Paul Walker. I mean, it really sets up an entire franchise really well just on this one, and that was obviously carried on to the other movies. And I think obviously with the way the characters interact with each other is all very good and stuff. It's just I think when it got to like the later movies, I feel like they not that great. I mean, I think they're still fun. I'm not saying they're bad movies or anything, apart from number two, which was absolute pile of shit. I'm sorry, but it was. Um, but I think that I'm not. Maybe it's because I wasn't a massive Fast and Furious fan, and that maybe it's taken me this long to see how good the first one actually is compared to the other ones. Perhaps that's it. But I still have my hand high that I do quite like these movies. I don't think there's much wrong with them. Like they're not like bad movies. There obviously are things wrong with them that they have kind of gone on a bit too long and they do kind of feel a little bit repetitive and Vin Diesel can't act that great, but he gets a little bit better again and stuff. And he looks like he's given a really good performance with this, and it's just wow. I mean, I wasn't really expecting that. I mean, after him being so deep voice and everything, and Diesel and stuff, a little bit like you can act better than that. He's really good in this movie, and actually, he reminds me of not to the hatred of Sean William Scott because I can't stand that man, but he sort of has that thing about him that he kind of had in Final Destination 1, that he was really good in Final Destination 1 and then he kind of ruined it. But I don't think Vin Diesel was quite as bad as him. I just don't think he was ever that great and not like a good actor. But it just seemed like he was displaying more emotion in number six, number seven, and it seemed like before that he was kind of not really doing anything much. Sort of there doing the action very well, plausibly, but then kind of wouldn't. But I really like him in this one. I mean, he's really like strong and powerful, and you feel this threat of him that he's not someone to be messed with. And I mean, there are even obviously characters in this one you don't ever see again in number two or number three or number four, number five, number six. And obviously, no one should really mention number three. I just did. Whoops. because obviously it's a really bad movie apparently, and there's only one character who is established in that one, goes on to the other movies, and then obviously there's no one else in it, and Paul Walker swapped for some wannabe stupid actor, which just sounds like a pile of crap to me. Because how can you replace Paul Walker? I mean, he is one of the people of the series. He is what makes it work for the reasons that sometimes it doesn't quite just work as well as I want it to. But you know, I still think they're fun movies. I just think this is the best one.